Welcome to the Pitch Deck, everybody. Happy Thursday. Good to see ya. It's actually my birthday today. Yay. The day you're viewing this, not the day I'm recording it. That would be crazy. I don't love you guys that much. But so as a birthday present, it looks like I've got some gifts to share with the class. We've got the return of like 4 legendary bands that released actually unmissable new albums. I know a lot of times the bigger a band gets, the less I'm excited about a new album from them, but holy shit, these ones proved me wrong. We also have a bunch of bands that I had never heard of before, but now I immediately need to shout them out from the rooftops. So, without too much yapping from me up top, let's just get right into my recommendations and reviews for the best new albums that came out this week. 97, 98, 99... The legendary hardcore and OG metalcore band 100 Demons has released their first album in 22 years, titled Embrace the Black Light. It is always crazy to me when a band has the ability to just disappear for like 2 decades and then come back without missing a beat. This is every bit as dark and angry and just menacing as their seminal work. If you were looking for a new 100 Demons album, this is probably exactly what you were looking for. This thing is Riff City, population beef. These riffs are just relentless and aggressive to the highest degree possible, and they're able to flawlessly capture their classic mix of death metal, thrash, and hardcore, reminding you exactly why they still remain a cult classic, even after only releasing 2 albums before half the people watching this on Instagram were even born. My only real complaint here is that the lyrics are kinda corny at times, but that is pretty easily overlooked by the sheer force behind the delivery of the vocals, with that tough as nails biker grunt, and the fact these instrumentals are non-stop melting your face for the entire 12-track runtime. This was an awesome return to form, and I'm not gonna lie, I think this one's gonna destroy some venues when they play it live.
Death to the screams! Sing your praise! This realm is anti-cosmic!
Alright, whose dick did I suck to get 2 Converge albums in 1 year? The pioneering metalcore and chaotic hardcore band Converge are already back with their 2nd album this year, Hum of Hurt. Okay, so I was not expecting this to have an entirely different feel from the album that was released literally just 4 months ago. While Love Is Not Enough leaned heavily into this abrasive immediacy and raw adrenaline, this one leans much more into these noise rock influenced atmospheric and doomy sludgy soundscapes while still kicking a metric fuckton of ass. Can a band win Album of the Year twice in 1 year with 2 different albums? Is that allowed, or am I showing a little bit too much bias because this band was obviously so formative for me? I think I've had 3 Jane Doe shirts stolen by exes at this point. But come on, it's easy to see why. This band releases non-stop heater after heater, even if it takes a few years. In my opinion, this band has never released a bad album, and this is no different. In fact, I can't actually say for certain which one I like better, Love Is Not Enough or The Hum of Hurt, which is pretty crazy to say because I thought Love Is Not Enough already had a guaranteed top 5 on the year for me. There are still some moments on here that do keep that kind of faster pace, in-your-face energy of some of their previous work, but it is definitely the outlier. This one has much more of the slow blade penetrates the shield vibe. Just this slow death with a rusty blade kind of sound that I absolutely adore. I'm not just gonna gush about this band for another 20 minutes, don't worry. Just please go check this one out and report back. I'm curious to see which of these albums has the edge over the other one for you. Urzah is back. Wait, which Urzah? The progressive metal band Urzah has released their sophomore album, A Tranquil Void. This is an extremely unique band that I had genuinely never heard of. I really dig how they blend some like melodic death metal with elements of doom, sludge, punk, and even post-hardcore to create this really atmospheric and grandiose sound. This has a really cool existential, almost Lovecraftian vibe to it, especially the way it explores like the balance of the cosmos with personal introspection. And the band themselves are quoted saying, "Across 8 tracks, A Tranquil Void pushes Urzah's sound even further, combining brutal riffs, complicated meter, and searing guitar tone with deeper explorations of space, dynamics, and atmosphere, incorporating folk influences and drones built from cello and guitar." So if you need some super creative new death metal, definitely give this one a shot. August Burns Red has got to be the most consistent band on the scene. The never-ending freight train of a metalcore band, August Burns Red have released their 11th studio album, Season of Surrender. If you remember loving Messengers or Constellations years ago, but haven't really kept up with them over the last few albums, except maybe their incredible Christmas albums, make sure this one doesn't pass you by as well. This is absolutely, without a doubt, one of the best albums they have ever written. And it would fit in perfectly next to their like heavier genre-defining albums. Not to harp on this too much, but this one really does feel like a time machine back to high school for me. This one has that hard-hitting melodic metalcore with all of the gorgeous melodies and guitar solos that we've come to know and love from this band, but with a huge serving of grit and angsty aggression that I feel like we haven't gotten from these guys in a hot minute. And fuck yeah, it does sound good to have it back. Dude, I love when August Burns Red just leans into their heavier instincts. My jaw dropped when Jake hit some of these lows. I had permanent stank face. I forgot that they can actually get beefy as shit when they want to. And it's crazy that since Messenger's on, this band has not changed their lineup, which, you know, is great for me because as a drummer myself, Matt Grainer was a huge inspiration. And my boy's a beast. He sounds just as technical and precise as ever. To be honest, everyone here does. I was extremely surprised by this one. I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't 2009 August Burns Red. Manchester Metallic Hardcore. The crossover metallic hardcore band Guilt Trip has released their latest album, Armour of Angels. Man, I really love the way they blend these like classic 90s thrash and groove metal riffs with just some tough as nails and heavy-handed hardcore. This is a great example of a band becoming a better version of themselves with every release. They don't try to reinvent their sound for every EP or album. Instead, they try to elevate it. The riffs get more and more creative and technical with each release, but not in a way that would sound out of place with their previous ones. But most of all, I really appreciate how much work they put into the actual structure of their songs, making sure to avoid a formulaic or by the numbers approach by making sure to, when needed, subvert expectations for certain passages, while on the other side, for certain passages, it being extremely satisfying and exactly what you want to hear. I also super love the cohesion of this album, both thematically and sonically. The songs all have these connections and tendrils to each other, allowing it to play out in one fell swoop as a singular expression, while also being able to stand on their own as individual ass beaters. And, you know, growing up in the Bible Belt, I'm a sucker for the way they use the religious imagery and themes to create this hard as fuck atmosphere, being more of a metaphor about the tension between hate and forgiveness in the face of betrayal, or if the idea of redemption can even exist after certain mistakes and failures. There's a lot going on here, and I really fuck with it. And just a reminder, it is my birthday, so I am absolutely not doing an episode next week. I am planning on getting the fuck out of the city and laying on a beach drunk somewhere. So if you don't mind, you know, showing this video some extra love, subscribe if you haven't, maybe like the video if you want to help out the channel, maybe send it to your group chat full of anonymous furries. I'm not judging, I don't know you, I don't know your life. That would be a huge help, and it would really mean a lot to me. Connecticut Tech Death. The progressive technical death metal band Xenosis has released their 5th studio album, Hermetic Transmutation. I love how they have this like classic death metal sound that's being swallowed whole by modern proggy technical death metal. It's like this awesome blend between old and new school. This is such an unpredictable and off-the-wall album that always keeps you on your toes. You never know if right around the corner there's a fucking jazz passage or a wall of slams. You're honestly going to have to experience this one for yourself. It's so much more brutal than I was expecting for how weird and spacey it is. And the instrumentalists get so much room to flex their like 30 fingers on each hand. I love weird shit and I love heavy shit, so I had a pretty fun time seeing where each one of these songs would take me. Before we go on down to the hard corner, I got a little present for you guys. I know it's my birthday, but I'm being generous today. Here are 4 metalcore bands that kick a ton of ass. Does that make this the metal corner? Or are we just gonna end up in a like house of leaves of subgenre corners? Anyway, check these bands out. The Austin, Texas-based metalcore band Inside the Hollow has released their latest album, Resurgence. There is such a good blend here of that more abrasive, chaotic metalcore and hardcore sound with some like early 2000s metalcore and even some gorgeous like melodies and harmonies. Plus the screams have so much emotion and the band is so tight and precise. The combination of these staccato mathy riffs and the classic 16th note chugs and breakdowns just works so well for me. Plus this one's a full album, while the other ones we're going to talk about today are all just EPs. The Detroit, Michigan-based ass-beating music band My Own Will has put out their latest EP, Misery. This one is awesome if you love that throwback 2000s kind of MySpace metalcore and deathcore sound, but maybe a little heavier on the deathcore side. I like that to keep things simple. They just call themselves Great Lake State Heavy. The riffs are so tasty, and it's just sheer punishing brutality through and through. And my favorite thing though is it's got this really rhythmic, weighty bounce to it that feels like you're hitting a punching bag with brass knuckles. The Toronto metalcore band Single Wound has released their latest EP, In Rage and Fury. This one is pretty simple yet effective, and I mean that with love. This one is all about the more hardcore punk adjacent side of the metalcore spectrum, focusing primarily on the breakdowns and the two-steps and the aggression. Sometimes, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. Sometimes you just need a wheel to throw at someone, and this works really well for that. The Philly-based cybergrind band Zombieshark has released their third album, Angel Noises, You're Safe Now. If you've been avoiding some cybergrind bands because it feels like maybe it's a gimmick or nostalgia bait, just try this band. They'll slap that notion right out of your head. This is such a clear, unified vision and really presents a refined, cohesive style that stands on its own, even if you have no clue what cybergrind is. The song structures here especially are really strong and can kind of bind together some of their more offbeat, glitchy elements. And I like that they don't use these glitchy electronics and samples to substitute for good songwriting. And now, as promised, let's take a trip on down to the hard corner. Here are 4 new hardcore demos that you don't want to miss. The Texas hardcore band Soul Exchange has just released this backbreaker of an EP titled Slow Descent. Dude, this thing beats so much ass. The riffs bounce back and forth from thrashy aggression to these melodic creative riffs to just straight up beat down hardcore. Texas really knows how to do metallic hardcore just right. There's so much force behind these punches, and fuck me, I love how much bass is in this. As always, bassists don't get enough love, and here you can see why they can be so beneficial. The Nashville hardcore band So Calm has put out this killer new demo, Man Proposes, God Disposes. This is some tough as nails metallic hardcore that has some of the grooviest and punchiest riffs I've heard in a minute. This one is just an adrenaline-fueled physical assault. But I do appreciate that they have a sense of humor and don't try too hard to be tough, they just are. The West Virginia-based hardcore band False Sense has released their EP, Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of Mob Justice. This one is straight up Appalachian aggression. I love a passion and the way they tear these words from your mouth. Also, when I saw there was a feature from Fit Check, I had to do a double take. When the fuck did I do a feature? But this one has a really deep and chuggy, low-tuned, riff-centric sound, which I super love because it lets the bass player really show off, and it's contrasted nicely with these more higher-pitched barks from the vocalist. And finally, the mathy, grinding hardcore band Underneath has put out their EP, The Great Yinzer Tranquil. This is, quote, Rust Belt Mosh Fodder. One flyer I saw for a show they were playing said Pittsburgh grindcore adjacent. So yeah, it's sort of hard to put this band in a box, but this shit is fucking crazy. I don't know what to say. If you want your hardcore to sound like a panic attack, I'd absolutely recommend this one. And here is the full list of everything from this week. Insane albums this week. So many to pick from. This was a hard episode to try and nail down. Feel free to screenshot this. Again, since there's not going to be an episode next week, you know, get your money's worth. Get in here. And as always, make sure to hit me with any recommendations, whether it's your band or someone you know, or just a band you want to see on the show that's coming out soon. Hit it in the comments or in my DMs. Whatever you feel most comfortable with. Love you guys, and I'll catch you in 2 weeks.